Tennessee is often introduced with its cities and its songs, but the state's most enduring stories are written in water and stone, in mist that clings to spruce fir ridges, in sandstone arches and river gorges, in waterfalls that drop through ancient strata, and in balds where wind and wildflowers erase the boundary between forest and sky. A nature lover's guide to Tennessee can be organized as a journey across 5 landscapes that feel like separate worlds: Great Smoky Mountains National Park, Fall Creek Falls, Big South Fork, the Roan Highlands, and a handful of smaller places and seasonal moments that round out the experience. Together, they form a best-of list that rewards both first-time visitors and seasoned hikers. Begin with the Great Smoky Mountains, the most visited national park in the United States, not because it is easy, but because it is generous. The Smokies sit on the border of Tennessee and North Carolina, an old mountain chain shaped long before the first dinosaurs, later carved by rivers and Ice Age climates, and finally clothed in one of North America's richest temperate forests. The name comes from the bluish haze that often hangs in the valleys, volatile organic compounds released by vegetation and scattered by moisture and light. Its chemistry turned into atmosphere, and it changes by the hour. Human history here runs deep. Cherokee homelands once covered these ridges and coves. The park preserves not only biodiversity, but traces of an older cultural geography. In Cades Cove, the most famous valley loop road in the park, you'll see 19th-century churches, barns, and cabins that speak to Appalachian settlement patterns, tight communities, small farms, and a landscape that demanded resilience. The park itself was created in the 1930s through a complicated mix of philanthropy, federal policy, and local sacrifice. Entire communities were displaced, and some family cemeteries remain in the woods, reachable by footpaths that feel like quiet corridors of memory. For visitors, the Smokies offer a menu of classic experiences. Newfound Gap Road climbs from hardwood forests into high-elevation spruce fir, where cooler temperatures and different soils create a northern-looking ecosystem in the south. Clingman's Dome, now commonly referred to as Kuwohi, the Cherokee name, reaches 6,643 feet, the highest point in the park, and its observation tower gives a horizon of folded ridges that can look endless on a clear day. For waterfalls, Laurel Falls is the well-known introduction, but the park's signature cascade is Abrams Falls, where a modest drop pours an outsized volume into a clear pool, the product of a large watershed. And then there is the park's crown jewel for serious hikers, Mount LeConte, approached by trails like Alum Cave, where an overhanging bluff and the pale cave of rock feel like a natural cathedral. 2 practical notes matter in the Smokies. First, wildlife is real wildlife. Black bears are common, and seeing one is a privilege that comes with responsibilities. Keep distance, secure food, and never treat a roadside bear as a photo prop. Second, the park's popularity has reshaped logistics. Parking can be the limiting factor at trailheads and scenic stops, especially in peak leaf season. Early mornings and weekdays are your best allies, and patience is part of the Smokies' price of admission. From the Smokies, travel west onto the Cumberland Plateau for a different kind of drama. Fall Creek Falls State Park, one of Tennessee's flagship parks and a showcase of plateau geology. Here, the land is built of sandstone and conglomerate laid down in ancient river systems, later lifted and cut by streams into steep-walled gorges. The park's namesake waterfall, Fall Creek Falls, drops roughly 256 feet, among the highest free-fall waterfalls in the eastern United States. Freefall matters. Instead of tumbling down a series of steps, the water launches into open air, and the spray can hang like weather around the overlook. Fall Creek Falls is not just one waterfall, it's an entire network. Coon Creek Falls can be seen across the gorge, a parallel ribbon of water that makes the overlook feel like a two-waterfall stage set. The trail to the base of Fall Creek Falls gives you the sound and scale that photographs cannot. Nearby, Cane Creek Cascades and Cane Creek Falls add variety. One a series of quick drops, the other a taller plunge, while Rockhouse Falls offers a smaller, more intimate destination. The park has long been a place for family trips and first hikes, but it also supports longer treks and backcountry routes, especially for those who want to follow the gorge and see how water shapes the plateau mile by mile. For travel planning here, weather is the deciding factor. After heavy rain, waterfalls swell and trails can be slick. In summer, the plateau can be humid and thunderstorms arrive quickly. Footwear with traction and a conservative approach near cliff edges are essential. The park's developed facilities make it approachable, lodging, campgrounds, and paved overlooks, yet the gorge remains serious terrain. Continue north and east to Big South Fork National River and Recreation Area, straddling the Tennessee-Kentucky line, and you enter a landscape that feels both wild and quietly archaeological. The Big South Fork of the Cumberland River has carved a labyrinth of gorges into the plateau, exposing layers of sandstone that form cliffs, bluffs, and natural arches. This is a place of long views from rock shelters and sudden surprises, slender bridges of stone, amphitheaters of cliff, and riverside bends where the forest closes in and the water runs dark over tannins and shadow. Big South Fork is famous for its arches, some of the most impressive in the East. Twin Arches, among the largest natural bridge formations in the region, stands like a monumental doorway. Not a single arch, but a pair, each enormous, framed by hemlocks and hardwoods. Nearby, the Charrot Creek Lodge area hints at an older style of backcountry travel, rustic, remote, and centered on the pace of footpaths rather than roads. The park is also a stronghold for equestrian recreation. Horse trails thread the plateau, and you'll often see trailheads designed as much for trailers as for cars. History here includes coal and timber, but also a deeper human timeline. Rock shelters and bluff overhangs provided seasonal refuge for indigenous peoples for thousands of years, and the region's ruggedness helped preserve both cultural traces and ecological pockets. Today, the Big South Fork is prized by paddlers and anglers as much as hikers. River levels fluctuate, and that variability shapes the experience. Some days, the river is a gentle corridor. After rain, it becomes an energetic force that reminds you why gorges exist at all. For visitors, Big South Fork rewards those who like to roam. Roads are fewer, distances feel larger, and cell service can be unreliable. Carry a paper map or offline navigation and plan for self-sufficiency. The payoff is a kind of quiet that is harder to find in the Smokies. Less crowd energy, more wind in the canopy, more time to notice the details. The scalloped patterns in sandstone, the way lichens map humidity and light, the sudden appearance of a raven riding thermals along a cliff line. Now turn east toward one of Tennessee's most distinctive high country experiences, the Roan Highlands, perched along the Tennessee-North Carolina border in the Unaka Mountains, a segment of the Appalachians that rises into open balds and spruce fir islands. The Roan Highlands are famous for their grassy summits, places like Round Bald, Jane Bald, and Grassy Ridge Bald, where the forest drops away and the land opens into a wind-swept dome. These balds are ecologically and culturally intriguing. Their origins are still debated and likely mixed. Climate history, soil conditions, fire, and past grazing all played roles in keeping them open. Today, careful management helps maintain these rare habitats. The Rhone is also home to one of the South's great seasonal spectacles, the Catawba rhododendron bloom. Typically peaking in June at higher elevations. When the shrubs flower, the balds and edges of the forest can look painted in pink and lavender. Yet even outside bloom season, the Rhone Highlands offer a kind of clarity. Long sight lines, quick changing weather, and a feeling of elevation that is uncommon in the southeast. The Appalachian Trail runs through here, and a day hike from Carver's Gap is one of the most accessible ways to step into high mountain terrain without committing to a long approach. A note of realism. The Rhone Highlands can be colder and windier than visitors expect. Fog can roll in fast, and temperatures can drop sharply, even in late spring or early fall. Bring layers and treat open ridges with respect. In winter, snow and ice are common at these elevations, and conditions can become alpine in character. To round out a best of Tennessee for nature lovers, consider a few complementary stops and strategies that connect these anchor destinations. For waterfalls beyond Fall Creek Falls, Tennessee is rich in cascades because the plateau and the escarpments give water places to drop. Burgess Falls State Park near Cookeville offers a sequence of falls culminating in a powerful final plunge into a limestone and sandstone gorge. Rock Island State Park, at the edge of the Caney Fork, pairs a dramatic river setting with a waterfall that can appear almost theatrical when water is flowing well. In East Tennessee, the Cherokee National Forest provides quieter alternatives to the Smokies, with places like the Bald River Falls area offering roadside access to impressive water, and back roads that lead to trailheads with fewer crowds. For scenic driving with high payoff, the Foothills Parkway near the Smokies offers some of the best sunrise and sunset views in the region, with layered ridgelines that explain the park's popularity in a single glance. On the plateau, the drive between state parks often passes through forests and small towns that reflect Tennessee's rural character, places where outdoor recreation is not a weekend hobby, but part of local identity. Timing matters across all these landscapes. Autumn is the headline season. Crisp air, clear vistas, and hardwood forests turning gold and scarlet. But it brings traffic and limited lodging. Spring offers wildflowers and strong waterfall flow, though rain can be frequent. Summer delivers long daylight hours and lush greenery, but also heat, humidity, and afternoon storms. Winter is the quiet season, when overlooks feel private and animal tracks tell stories in mud or snow, but road closures and icy trails require flexibility. A final thread ties these places together. Tennessee's protected lands are not museum exhibits. They are working ecosystems shaped by fire regimes, invasive species pressures, climate shifts, and human visitation. In the Smokies, the reintroduction and recovery of species, the management of non-native pests, and the protection of high-elevation spruce fir forests are ongoing challenges. On the plateau, gorge habitats shelter rare plants, and water quality depends on what happens upstream. In the Rhone Highlands, maintaining balds requires careful stewardship so that rare, high-elevation communities don't simply revert to forest. To travel through Tennessee as a nature lover is to move through a living atlas. Humid coves and high ridges, sandstone cliffs and river bends, balds and blooming thickets, historic cabins and ancient rock. The reward is not only the headline views, though there are plenty, but the sense of continuity, the feeling that each trail and overlook is part of a much older narrative. When you stand on a Rhone bald with wind pushing at your jacket, or listen to the heavy breath of a waterfall in a plateau gorge, or watch fog assemble itself in a Smoky Mountain valley, you're not just visiting scenic spots. You're meeting Tennessee in its most elemental form, a place where geology sets the stage, weather writes the daily script, and every season changes the meaning of the same horizon.